When it first comes to buying your markers, there's a number of different ways that you can get them. You can get individually like these ones. They come at about $7.50 each, and that's the recommended retail price. Your next size up are the 12 packs. They come at about $85 each. Following on from that, you have the 24 packs. They come at about $165 each. And then the next size up are your 36 pack. They come at $242. And then the final size is a 60 pack that come at $385, but I don't have any to show you. Within the Mepxy label brand, there's two different types of markers that you can buy. These are the brush markers. And these are the design markers. The Mepxy Marker 24, 36 and 60 pack of markers come in boxes like these. To open, you just lift this back flap up here. There's a magnetic strip along here that just touches in with the back there. And you can now rest your markers like that. The best way to store them is in a position horizontally like this, or with the lid on, because if you have them vertically, what happens is the ink from the markers tends to flood the one end of the marker, and it just becomes a bit harder to use and doesn't work as well. When it comes to comparing the design marker with the brush marker, the main difference is in the fine tip end. Both of them have the identical chiseled broad end on this side. The designer marker has a fine hard tip, as you can see here, and the brush marker has an end that's kind of a bit like a watercolor brush, so it can move in certain spaces that this might not be able to, but this is quite good for fine lines and really thin areas that you want to colour in. There's a number of different marker papers that you can use with the Mepxy markers, but I tend to use the Canson bleed proof. I've had really good results from it, and it's a really smooth paper and it really soaks up the mark as well. It doesn't come through on the other side. So as you can see here, I've coloured it on this side as my test sheet. Other side it hasn't come to this side of the paper. The reason you use these marker paper is because normal paper doesn't have the absorbency as this one does, and otherwise it normally just comes straight through to the other side and it'll follow through onto the pages beyond. I'm now going to give you a demonstration using the different types of markers and the different techniques for using the markers. Alright, let's start with the chiseled end. This is a design marker. The colour is B29 Ultramarine. When you're using the chisel tip end, the best way to use it is to stroke back and forth, continuing the same line. And also, if you really want that smooth texture like that, you kind of go back over the line you just did, because if you continue with the next line, you kind of miss the bits in between. You don't get that smooth colour like you do there. Now I'm going to demonstrate the difference between the two fine tip ends as I was describing before. I'm going to be using that ultramarine blue again, and I'm also going to be using Rosebud, which is a V15. Okay, so your fine tip that you had on your designer marker before, they're ideal for thin lines. They're also quite good for shading in small areas. Once again, going back and forth over your original colours. And then your brush tip. It's malleable, so you can actually bend it and shape it. You can also get quite thin lines depending on how you move the brush. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly do a quick colour in of a sketch I just did of a girl. I'm going to use a range of different markers and just show you how I use them, the techniques that I might use, and all these things are things that I've pretty much taught myself, so you may have your own way, but maybe you'll be able to pick something up from this. Okay, to start with, I'm going to use W31, which is called Bridal Skin. It's pretty much my favourite skin colour. I use it quite often for most things. So I'm going to use the brush marker, and I'm going to use the brush marker tip because I quite like that for getting into the grooves of the skin and when you're shading skin particularly, try and follow the pattern of the face, try and smooth around the corners, don't shade down or across because you want it to look as realistic as possible. Another tip is try not to, when you're doing your sketch in grey lead, try not to have it too dark, because if you push too much grey lead on the page, it'll get caught up in the marker and then you'll get like these dark kind of yucky look on your page. See how I'm following the contours of the face? And often when you use the marker, it actually might go down a different colour to the way that it dries. The bridal skin, for example, will go on looking more of an orangey colour, but once you allow it to dry, it kind of comes out as a nice paler colour. At any point you want, you can swap to the chisel end if you've got a thicker part. Alright, so now for some shadows, I'm going to use N05, which is called Sandstorm. It's my other favourite skin colour. Depending on how you want the lighting to look, you can get different shadows and different colours and different effects. And there's also lighter colours that you can do to add lighter shadows as well, but I'm just going to keep it pretty basic for now. When it comes to the eye, the white of an eye is never actually white, so I normally just put a little bit of grey in, just to kind of give it that 3D look. So I'm going to use, that last grey was CG02, which is Cool Grey, number 2. Then for the pupil in the eye, I'm going to use C49, which is Vivid Blue. I always open the wrong end. Alright, I'm going to do the pupil of the eye now. I tend to avoid using black as much as possible and actually use dark greys because the black can be a little bit too jarring. So I'm going to be using CG09, so Cool Grey number 9. There we go, and I'm just going to use a white pen just to do the kind of little reflection in the eye. Alright, so next I'm just going to start on the hair. I tend to love red hair, so I'm just going to paint this hair red. Again, I'm actually going to use the brush markers for the whole of this tutorial just because I've picked out these colours in particular. And just be really gentle when you're painting right next to the face, because if you're using a dark colour it's very hard to undo if you accidentally go over the lines. And see again with the hair, I'm kind of following the contours of the shape of the hair. Alright, and you also want to use the same colour for your eyebrows. I'm going to use the Cool Grey number 5 to do a bit of a mascara type eyeliner line. Just looking less evil now, thank goodness. Alright, with her teeth as well, I'm going to use Cool Grey 3 just to kind of put a bit of a shadow in her mouth. I'm going to use W04, a peach skin for the lips. And with the hair, I'm going to add some shadows. So I'm going to use Sienna W29. Okay, and I'm going to go back to using my Sandstorm just to add a couple of little freckles. And there you go, you can kind of add bits and pieces if you wish. Maybe a little purple earring. Yeah. So there you go. So you can add a lot more to your drawings, but that's just kind of a basic tutorial on how to kind of direct your brushes when you use them, and to add details and what ends to use for which bits of the painting or the drawing, and yeah, just to work. You don't want to work too fast that you make mistakes, but just work fast enough so that it's easy to blend the colours together, and also given just enough time for certain areas to dry. And yeah, so I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope to see some of the work that you've made using it, and have a wonderful day.